Good morning. We are broadcasting with Brooke and myself this morning at our usually 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Sunday morning for anybody who wants to watch live or watch the recorded version at your leisure on YouTube. And Brooke, I thought we'd start out today. We've been talking about finances and so forth in previous weeks, and today we could go on to Dr. Mao's chapter from Live Your Ultimate Life on career health. And he starts out the chapter with a quote from Steve Jobs, one of the co-founders of Apple Computer. He said, Steve Jobs says, "Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great, and the only way to do great work is to love what you do," which sounds pretty reasonable.
Yep.
As life turns out sometimes, though, especially at the beginning of one's career, you can't always be so choosy in a practical manner. So you may have to end up at least sometime in a job that you don't necessarily like, although you can grow to like a particular job. So you may think, well, I'd hate to do this particular thing, and then after a few weeks you say, oh boy, I'm glad I started this. So you never know.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So in my personal job career of many decades, I mostly liked all the jobs I did, or at least it didn't really, there wasn't anything that was bothersome, except when I was in the late 1990s. I had previously been pretty much self-employed or teaching or doing stuff on my own. And then I decided to take a job, any job I could get. And so I'm in a small town, so I looked around to see what was available. And of course, in a small town, that's not a whole lot of stuff. So I found a advertisement for a car salesman in a town that was actually about 50 miles away. I actually called them and said I was interested. And they said, well, we have a dealership right in your town, which I didn't even know.
Nice.
And so I went to this dealership, which is only about 4 miles away, and applied for a job. And in car dealerships, pretty much, if you're breathing, you get a job. So,
oh, I needed to know that.
yeah. Well, in fact, I have recommended over the years people looking for a job that, if you want to make some money, and actually pretty good money if you really work at it, just car dealership, because you will get the job and they will theoretically train you, but a lot of it is just watching what people do and asking questions. But you can make a good living out of that. Now, in my case, I never felt myself as a salesman, so that was one I kind of regretted going into, because I thought, it was not really cut out for me. But after it turned out, I was actually pretty good at it, and so stayed there for about 4 years. So anyway, so there was a case where going into it, I was just looking for any job I could get, and that was not the one that I would have preferred, but after a while I actually got pretty good at it. Okay, now let's see. Dr. Mao goes on to talk about career as your daily spiritual expression. So he's saying, discover where your passion lies, where you are talented, your gift, and what the marketplace's needs are. And so if you determine those three criteria, you can have a fulfilling job or career. So those were the find out what you're talented in, what the marketplace needs, and where your passion lies. So if you leave out one of those, you might be able. So your passion might be, I love to paint, paint paintings. But you might find out that the marketplace doesn't need that, because there's so many already around that it's pretty hard to break into the art. Or say you are 5'2" and your passion is basketball. Well, and you might be really good at it, but probably Mark is going to hire somebody that's 6'2" or 7'2" over somebody that's 5'2". So you got to kind of have your passions, what you're naturally talented, and what the marketplace needs. And then
Yeah.
if you follow those, probably everything will fall into place. I think I told you this story early on when I remember personal computers came out, and I had bought one, and I put on a little note on my monitor to do the most efficient thing every day. And that
Uh-huh.
was my motto. Well, Dr. Mao is pointing out efficiency is probably not the thing to do. So he's talking about the secret of career bliss is the fit factor. So then after a few years, I discovered efficiency is not the thing. Do what you really like to do.
Yeah.
So I kind of did a 180 there. But in my younger days, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I thought, well, if I'm efficient and work hard, then everything's going to be fine. Well, not necessarily. How has your career experiences gone? Have you had any regrets or anything that you would have done differently or anything?
Um, I'm very torn because I do have a career that I am so passionate about and I love. I don't necessarily fit into it quite well. I don't know how to say that. Well, I don't know. I know, I'm a hairdresser. I'm a cosmetologist, and I love my job. I love meeting new people. I love making people feel beautiful and happy, and I love talking to them. A lot of my clients have become family. I've had kids that I've been cutting their hair since they were 10, and like one of them's going off to the army in a couple of weeks. I was like near tears. So it's definitely quite a passion. I really know what I'm doing. I actually love the chemistry involved in it, but it's also kind of a rat race. I'm not a very materialistic person, and I'm definitely not. I guess I'm not super proactive about like I'm not a salesperson like you. I'm not like going out there like grabbing people to come in, and of course I'm always giving people breaks and discounts because I love them. So I'm not exactly the greatest business person, and that's why my career has not yet given me the capacity to live on my own and sustain myself and my family. So I'm kind of at a point now where I'm trying to learn those things. So
Yeah.
somehow I'll be able to blend the two together.
Yes. Looking over Dr. Mao's suggestions on careers and jobs, depending on your element,
Yep. Something I need to learn.
Yeah, on page 246, he talks about the wood element career possibilities. Now, I did notice that these are really broad, which is probably appropriate because you can't really say, well, a wood personality needs to be a carpenter, or you can't really narrow it down, of course.
Yeah.
Though it has something to do with that, and he puts stuff in there that have actually to do with literally wood.
Oh yeah, my husband's a wood and he's a carpenter, so I completely.
Yeah. Yeah. And then water, of course, he says, things to do with water, so so it does have some factor in there. But anyway, on the wood element, he says, as a wood element person, your natural affinity for leadership makes you particularly suited for management and administration, teaching or coaching, politics, law enforcement, and military service are also careers that could appeal to you. I kind of think of the wood element as a type A personality. And so all those things would fit, the executive or the manager or the boss, and all those things he mentioned would certainly apply to that. And
Yeah.
then bringing in the literal wood thing, he says they excel in natural sciences such as biology, botany, environmental science, which would have, living woody type things, growing things, and careers that are aligned with, strangely enough, tree products such as lumber, paper, furniture design, manufacturing, house building, paper products. Yeah, so they all, make sense. And then he adds in there farming, food production, gardening, landscape, environmental design. And then he gets even wider, writing, interior photography, illustration, religious, charitable work. So it gets wider and wider. So there's nothing really can't eliminate. And then he goes even to the athletic. He says teaching or participating in sports, yoga, martial arts, and dance are naturals for your wood energy. Yeah. So the first time I read this, a few months ago when he sent it to us, I thought, well, that's everybody.
No.
But then this morning I did notice he starts out, kind of specific things, and then specific things for literally wood, and then the last paragraph kind of broadens things out. Mm-hmm. Okay, now the fire element, which is your fiery personality or exuberance. Well, he says exuberance and love of attention makes natural for the performing arts, film, theater, opera, and comedy. You're a natural speaker, so you could do professional speaking, motivational coaching, sales, marketing, relations, and all those things. And then he goes on to fashion and brokering and arts and real estate. And of course, a lot of those things I think a fire person is good with people. So anything that involves people seems to be right down their line.
Yeah.
Medicine and healthcare is an outlet for your compassion and wisdom. Fitness and training industry, psychology, social work, counseling. So he's broadening it out again. Okay. Over to the earth element, through 240. You want to go through some of those things and see what he recommends for the earth element, the kind of a caring, mothering type personality, nurturing person.
So earth is grounded, nurturing, and community-oriented, which makes you a natural for customer service, teaching, and service groups, or healing physician, nurse, physical therapist, holistic practitioner, nurturist, veterinarian, or missionary. And look, see, here's the earth stuff where they talk about, construction and mining industries, civil engineer, infrastructure building, road building, and earth moving industries are natural outlets for your elemental energy, as are hobbies like pottery, ceramics, rock collecting, gemstones, and gardening. It makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not sure he was, separating hobbies and talk about, of course, if you have a hobby, it's something you're passionate about. Yep. And so you might, well, gee, can I turn that into a job or a career? Well, yeah, if it meets one of all those three criteria, you'd have your skill, presumably, have your passion. Then the third criteria is there a market for it? Yeah. So, if you're a rock collector, is there a market for, trading or buying your rocks and so forth? Mm-hmm. At least there's a market, but the question, can you enter that market? Because there might be way too much competition, or the competition is very well financed, big time. Absolutely. And so it might be tough to get in an all person. Okay. And then he talks about the metal element. That would be your kind of obsessive compulsive personality, maybe, or to make lists and do things very logically.
Yeah, I tend to flip back and forth between water and metal. So, and now that I remember looking at this before, because it talks about beauty. Your love of scent and beauty could push you towards a career in cosmetics, consumer products. So that Guess that's kind of like me.
Yeah. Yeah. And then at the end there, he says, I could find satisfaction in process-oriented work, including robotics, regulatory agencies, compliance, appraising, and software testing. So all those are typical list things and very logical things where you got to go down a checklist and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to be, I did a lot of those kind of things over the years. I also have quite a lot of mental element in my personality.
Yeah. I'll find myself sometimes if I get a quiet client where we're not chatting, just the mundane act of foiling hair, having to go through piece after piece becomes so cathartic for me. I'll be blow drying and I'll just get into this Zen mode because it's so simplistic, but it has such a an order to it that I have to go through. I don't know how to describe it. It's wonderful. It's almost like a form of meditation for me.
Yeah. Well, that would be, of course, passion part. So anything you
yeah.
have that feeling is something you're passionate about, and it certainly is good for your health to be involved in that kind of an activity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was just trying to work in. So say you're passionate about something, you're very good at it, but you don't know that there's a marketplace. Well, you might not be able to start your business around that because of the competition, but you probably certainly can get hired by somebody who's already in that business.
Yes.
Yeah, so whatever your passion is, start calling folks already in that business, and you would certainly be ripe for getting hired.
Yeah.
Unless there's a big competition for that kind of a job. I can't run offhand. There's too many people out there. I know, like in nursing, for example, there's not enough people, so you can always get a job in nursing. I can't think. Can you think of a job where there's a lot of people out, and so it's kind of still hard to get, even though you're the top performer or something?
Actually, IT, I mean, you talk about metal, a lot of the computer and IT technological things there. I have so many friends that are still out of work, including my uncle, who is highly qualified, graduated from MIT. He's a genius, but because of his age or because of specifically what he does, he struggles quite a bit. And there's always kids going into technology and always graduating, and that I think the system is flooded.
Yeah, and now that rings a bell. That older you get, sometimes it's more difficult to get a job. And I'm thinking along with the employers want to get only bright folks, but people that are a little cheaper to hire. So
Exactly.
They can hire somebody younger and theoretically train them on the job or give them some job that's not you have a lot of skills to begin with. So that's a problem. And then also, when you see various industries like IT, they are constantly trying to people going into that field.
Yeah.
So there'll be all kinds of promotions and advertising and schools opening up to get people to be trained in IT. And then that makes the market so large of people who want jobs that it's tough to get a job.
Yeah.
Now it's good for the employer because now he's got a whole bunch of people he can hire, and there's so many that he can pay a little less than normal.
Yeah.
So sometimes you kind of have to watch what's going on in the market to see if there's going to be a huge supply of those folks. I do some writing for IT magazine and so forth, and there's a big push going on now for what they call the Internet of Things.
Hmm.
where all your household devices will be connected to the internet, so it can tell when you're out of milk, or your house is too hot or too cold, or
That's
your
crazy.
toaster is going to break or something. So I'm seeing a lot of push by uh, educational institutions and manufacturers to promote training people for the Internet of Things. They call it IoT. Now, eventually, in a few years, there may be so many people that are expert at that, they're going to end up getting $10 an hour instead of what they thought was going to be a nice paying job. So you kind of watch out for try to guess what the market's going to be like.
Yeah.
Well, the last element, the water element, Dr. Mao talks about on career possibilities. You want to go over that, Brooke?
Sure. Your power as a water element person comes from your vision and ability to create or conceive. So it would be wise to look for a career that takes advantage of your natural, contemplative, and self-sufficient temperament. As a water element person, you might enjoy work that is associated with movement of people or goods that come and go. In the five element paradigm, your element excels at work that is involved with commercial trading and monetary exchanges, banking, investments, retail, and international business. Transportation is energetically appropriate for you, such as airlines, sea and land transportation, shipping, delivery, and import, export. Travel and tourism also appear in the same category of movement and mobility. That's funny. It just reminded me, like, I feel like I lived two completely different lives. I was one of those kids. My dad said that when I was like young, I had determined I was going to be something, and I never stopped all through school. And I wanted to fly. I wanted to fly in planes. I was going to do anything and everything to get there. And man, did I try. So it talks about transportation and airlines, and yeah, that was the other half of my life. Was that.
Yeah. Now, Dr. Mao, he says he is a water personality. So, coincidentally or not, he continues on the next page. So he
Yeah.
has more about the water element
Oh yeah,
than
there's so
the others.
many.
Yeah. So then it goes into the literal water thing. You can find satisfying expression in a variety of water industries, professions, and functions like hydrology, water conservation, flood control, dam, irrigation. And beverage, another liquid thing. Let's see here. You'd be suited for a career in culture and heritage, anthropology, art, museum, curating, collecting, or genealogy. And
Yeah.
actually, in the last couple of years, I've been getting into genealogy, tracing my family history. I thought that was
Yeah.
just because I'm getting older and I want to find stuff before it's too late. And then he says, water persons are active and move and forward moving, just like water. So you might
Yeah.
consider a career in sports or coaching. You could consider legal, consulting, medicine, media, education, healing. So now it's really broad stuff here.
Yeah.
And then artistic energy for drawing, painting, sculpture, film, photography. Early on, I wanted to be a professional photographer, and I think it was like 21 or 20. I actually started doing that and trying to actually make money. I didn't, as it turned out, back in those years. Now, in later years, I actually have made in photography, but in the early years, I had the passion, maybe not quite the skill, and I didn't know the market. I couldn't compete with guys who are already professionals with studios and stuff, so I didn't have all
Yeah.
three of those.
I have definitely thought of coaching, like adding coaching over time. When I was looking for a second job, I was actually looking and going around to all the different martial arts studios that I liked. all the Chinese medicine and holistic places, not necessarily to practice it, but just to be involved in it, helping people. I definitely am propelling towards that. I can see that.
Yeah, yeah. So in summary, I guess take Dr. Mouse to have something you're passionate about, that you're skilled at, and that you can enter the market with it. There's a demand for your service, either as a business owner or as an employee in a particular field.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a pretty good session there, Brooke. The next chapter is, what's we got here?
Oh, I just closed it.
Your dreams and wishes. Carry on with our dreams and wishes next year, next week, 11:30, with Dr. Powell's Live Your Ultimate Life. Dr. Mao, of course, from California, acupuncturist, doctor of Chinese medicine, author, and son of Master Ni, a famous Taoist master that I followed 30 years ago or so.
Yeah.
All right. And Brooke also did. Brooke, you've read Master Ni's stuff as well.
Yeah, I'm reading an old one right now. It's like the power of the feminine. What is it? It's the power of the feminine, right there. I am in love with it. Like right now, I'm in the history part, and it's just fascinating.
Oh, great.
And you know what? Dr.
Right.
Mao helped write that book too.
Did he? Oh, interesting. You're familiar with that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. All right. So we'll close the session, and we'll hope to see you next Sunday at 11:30 a.m. And have a good week and a good 4th of July. And
you too.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.